following is a presentation of CNN Sports Illustrated.
Picture this. You've earned over $200 million. While you did it, friends and business associates claim their undying loyalty towards you during the good times and the hard times. Then you come to the conclusion that those same friends had stolen half your money. What would you do now? On this edition of Page One, Mike Tyson made over $200 million with Don King working his corner. Now the former heavyweight champion is suing the electric-haired promoter and his two former best friends for ripping him off.
King can't keep his hands off money when it's floating around him, and there was certainly plenty of money floating around with Mike Tyson in his pocket.
Former heavyweight champion Tim Witherspoon sued Don King for $25 million and joins us today to talk about his devastating experiences with a man he claims cost him a fortune and much of his career. What has become a common occurrence? Don King in court is playing out again. Jury selection is underway in the high-profile boxing promoter's insurance fraud retrial with Lloyd's of London. But King's notorious reputation is under further attack. Mike Tyson has come out swinging by filing a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the promoter and two former business associates he considered close friends. CNN Sports Illustrated's national correspondent Sonia Steptoe has the Page One story from New York.
In April 1995, Mike Tyson, recently paroled from prison after serving 3 years for rape, had a chance to make a fresh start in boxing. Instead, he reconfirmed his allegiance to his promoter, Don King.
Don is the greatest promoter in the world, as we know.
Now, Tyson is again at a crossroads. He was suspended indefinitely by the Nevada State Athletic Commission for biting Evander Holyfield, and reports say he's low on cash and owes back taxes. But this time, he's chosen a different path. Tyson has fired King and business managers John Horn and Rory Holloway and is taking all three to court.
He should have sued Don King years ago. Don King has been ripping him off unmercifully for almost since he took him on.
In court papers filed in New York and California, Tyson claims that over a 10-year period, King, Horn, and Holloway defrauded him out of more than $100 million. Tyson also wants the court to void the 1994 promotion and management contracts that he says he signed without benefit of legal counsel.
Since day one, since October of 1988, I believe that was the date that Mike came on board, and we controlled all of his financial affairs, or I should say Don King Productions controlled all of his financial affairs. Don just abused his power.
Rory Holloway, John Horn, Don King, and Mike Tyson, they formed a bond and a wall that nobody could penetrate.
Specifically, Tyson alleges that Horn and Holloway acted not as guardians of his best interests, but as puppets for King, who gave them each a $4.3 million kickback out of Tyson's money. According to Tyson, the improper arrangement allowed the three to siphon off more than 50% of the estimated $150 million he has earned since leaving prison. Horn and Holloway deny the charges, as does King.
This is a lawsuit that totally has no merit at all, and I think the evidence will back up and support that.
But to Joseph Mafia, the man who kept King's books from 1986 to 1991, and who now is the star witness in the government's fraud case against the promoter, many of Tyson's allegations have the clear ring of truth.
Every expense, every bill had CBMT, charge back Mike Tyson. So it became almost a joke, almost like when in doubt, CBMT.
The evidence of the lawsuit of what they're claiming, it saddens me that Mike Tyson will let himself be used as a pawn.
But Mafia has documents that purportedly show a partial list of expenses paid by King, some valid, some dubious, with Tyson's money. Tyson's lawsuit against King, filed here in New York federal court, is really an attempt by the 31-year-old boxer to seize control of his career. That's something that Tyson, once considered the baddest man on the planet, has seemed neither interested in nor capable of in the past.
He may be taking control of the people who he designates to represent them, he does not know enough about the business to take control.
He has at least taken a tangible step. He's got new people. They have this lawsuit, so that's a good sign. But I think Tyson's problems are beyond his finances.
Those who also believe King is partly to blame for Tyson's personal problems point to a number of former King fighters, including Oliver McCall and Tim Witherspoon, who wound up with not only depleted bank accounts, but damaged psyches.
What happened with Witherspoon, what happened with a whole string of heavyweights in particular, but not only heavyweights, was that the fighter becomes ancillary to King, and they lose a lot of their self-esteem. The saddest part is that they lose their ability to perform athletically because their ego is beaten down.
For Tyson, dismissing King, Horn, and Holloway may prove not only to be emotionally and financially therapeutic, it may also help to revive his career. By firing his controversial advisors, Tyson may be hoping to persuade the Nevada Commission that he is rehabilitated and should be allowed back in the ring. In New York, Sonia Steptoe, CNN Sports Illustrated.
I apologize to the world.
Joining us next to discuss the Tyson-King issue is former heavyweight champion of the world Tim Witherspoon, who after losing the heavyweight title in 1986 was so broke he didn't have a working phone in his house. He sued Don King for $25 million. Also, from Mexico City, Jose Suleiman, president of the highly influential World Boxing Council, whose organization has sanctioned more than 250 title fights involving Don King as promoter. We're back to discuss the relationship between the two biggest names in boxing, Mike Tyson and Don King, and what the fighter's lawsuit against his promoter means for the sport. Tim Witherspoon is a two-time heavyweight champion who fought for King and then sued him. Tim, by the end of the year 1986, you held and lost the title. You were already broke. How could that happen?
Promoters operate within the boundaries of boxing, and there's no laws really to protect the fighters.
What specifically happened with you and Don King?
Well, you talking about in '86?
Yes.
Well, you know, there was specific things that the fighter wasn't allowed to do, and there was laws that, like I said, there's laws to protect the promoters and not the fighters, and that pertained to all the promoters. You know, we were not protected, the fighter per se.
Yes, Jose Suleiman, you are the president of the World Boxing Council. You've sanctioned dozens of title fights, hundreds promoted by Don King. How accurate is Tim Witherspoon's portrayal of him and promoters in general?
Well, he is somehow accurate, but there's no law that doesn't protect the boxers. All to the contrary. You know, the organizations see that the promoters pay the boxers after the end of the fights, and they just deduct whatever percentage they have to deduct for their managers, but we see that they get paid.
Well, Tim, back to you. Were there bogus training expenses, inflated expenses you didn't know about and suddenly saw that they were coming out of your purse and out of your expenses and your money?
Yeah, and everybody knows primarily everything that happened with me and Don. I've been upset about that. That's in the past. But I learned that since I left Don that it was no different from the rest of the promoters. There was a little bit different. Don King, let's say that Don King might have a disease, you know, that maybe he wouldn't take, that he might want to take from a fighter. He might need medication. He might need a rehab, as though an addict that as it's on heroin or cocaine, he might need some help. And we might not know that he needs help. Anyway, if you want to take from Mike Tyson after the whole world is looking at you, then you might need help.
Well, Jose Suleiman, aren't you concerned for your sport that you'd have to do business with a man who's back in federal court right now and who's been sued by more than 20 boxers, including the biggest draw in your sport, Mike Tyson? He's never been convicted, but he has been sued.
Well, the years of my experience with Don King has not promoted too many fights of the WBC recently, but he has in the past, and I believe that many of the Don King productions with the WBC have been great fights, and I'm very proud of the participation of the WBC in those fights. There was a decade with HBO that were great fights, the best, and today with Showtime. I believe that we are now in some of the best moments of boxing. Very unfortunately, there is today more fights among the business of boxing in the boxing community as there were before.
Well, Tyson's allegations are quite serious, Jose. How can you ensure that this never happens again to any fighter?
Well, I do not know about Tyson. I don't know what he's claiming. I can tell you something. I think that the world knows that I have put my reputation on the line for Mike Tyson. But after he left prison, I haven't seen him. He has never expressed anything of any kind to us, and I just pray to God that God helps him, because I do not understand all what he's doing today. It's so strange to me. It's so strange to the people that I just pray to God that he will be helped.
Well, Tim Witherspoon, was Mike Tyson just stupid, naive, or do fighters, especially today, make so much money that they don't even know how much they make, they don't keep track of it?
You know, when you first meet Don King, you know, this great promoter, white, black, all America is labeling him as the greatest promoter of all times. You just want to, you know, get to meet him and see if he can promote your fights and all that. I don't think that Mike was stupid. Mike felt as though that here's a black promoter that would help him out and help promote his career and make a lot of money, which Don does offer a lot to a black fighter. I don't think that he's stupid, but there's people around that could have helped Mike not maybe get engaged with Don, but didn't help.
Jose,
you know, there's a lot of...
Let me ask Jose this. Is boxing better off with or without Don King?
You are asking me?
Yes.
Well, I believe that Don King has been one of the best promoters that has lived in the sport of boxing, is my opinion. There's also other promoters that are very good, like Arum, like Duba, and many others, but I believe that Don King has been, without a question, very good for the promotion of boxing.
How personally embarrassed are you that two of the major players, arguably the biggest names in the sport you govern, Jose, are embroiled in the sordid tale this lawsuit suggests?
Well, yes, we are embarrassed because we do not understand what's happening. I can tell you something. For the time that I've been a friend of Don King in the business of boxing, Don has devoted his life in protection and support of Mike Tyson in a way that whatever he has for the sport of boxing, he has been very careless about all the other boxers. He was careless even about Julio Cesar Chavez to support Mike Tyson. And well, that was a very special relation between both people, Don King and Mike Tyson, and to me it's a great surprise to see what's happening today.
Okay, Jose Sulaiman and Tim Witherspoon, thanks for being with us.